Hello Aries, welcome to the Plaid Sheep Oracle. At this time, as I'm recording this will be your last reading in 2023. There are only 5 days left of the year. And you are starting with this third eye chakra card, Aries. And we certainly do at the end of the year, we often want to write when we want to know what's coming. I mean, we kind of want to know at all times, but there's an especial something as the numerical year comes to a close. There's something, right, about all the potential in this new year. That kind of essentially symbolic switch from 2023 to 2024, that symbolic switch that we have at midnight on December 31st is filled with something, right? Filled with possibility here with this oyster. Are you going to open it and find a pearl, or just the oyster? And how do you feel about that? Did you open the oyster just for the pearl? And below that, there are 2 cards. One, this zebra with this rainbow at the third eye. And then the dragonfly, which is a very, right, a sort of mystical energy. I kind of associate the dragonfly with a little bit with the high priestess energy. They do live near water, but they also have the ability to fly backwards because of how their wings are able to move. So there's something kind of inherently multidimensional about them. And then at the bottom of the deck is the sun, clarity, vision. Wanting to see. And maybe you feel this way at every New Year's Eve, I don't know. But I have the sense that there's something special about this New Year's Eve, that you can sense the coming of something. That you're just beginning to feel this Ace of Pentacles. Just the first kind of nudge, just, maybe a little warmth somewhere in your chest, or maybe warmth in your hands, like something is coming. And then the Daughter of Swords, the Page of Swords, this energy of listening, for every, right, all of the tiniest little clues. Maybe you've really kind of stretched out your psychic senses, wanting to sense the tiniest movement, the tiniest ripple in the force. But I think you are not receiving anything. And I think there's a very particular reason for the blockage. And the frog is coming out, right, to say that something needs to be released. needs to be cleansed. That you may still be holding on to, even if you don't know it. Right here with this mouse, that maybe there's just like the smallest bit left. Perhaps this is something that you've worked on before, that there's been some process. But there's some little bit left, right? Just chewing on the wiring in the walls, right? Chewing. My aunt and uncle had a house in the country, and they used to get field mice. And at one point, the field mice chewed through a water cable in the dishwasher, and they got a leak. Right? A leak of consciousness, of psychic ability that is blocked or is leaking out. So here we have Boadicea. She is the patron of this card deck. This is Boadicea's Tarot of Earthly Delights. And this is the older name for Queen Boadicea. There seems to be agreement now that Boadicea was sort of a mistake and that it's really Boadicea. But either way, she was a queen in Britain. You may be aware of her during the Roman occupation. They occupied Rome from around 40-45 AD all the way up to about 410 AD. And in around 60 AD, their behavior was so atrocious that Boadicea raised a rebellion. And they sacked 3 Roman towns and killed an enormous number of Romans, both soldiers and civilians. And she is seen, very as a triumphant hero. This is kind of an image. There's a statue of her, and this is the image of the statue. But at their final stop, even though she had anywhere from 100 to 200,000 warriors, we don't know the exact numbers, they were bested by Roman strategy and skill and equipment. And her army was killed, and possibly she herself committed suicide. She is seen certainly as a very heroic figure. And it is, right, it has, right, the hero's story. There's a romance to it. This rebellion. Except that ultimately it was a failure. So, as you may know, here on the channel, I will often look at things very differently than whatever the received wisdom is. And I certainly appreciate her courage. But she was really, right, she was driven, right, by rage and grief. Rather than by thinking about things strategically, right? She raised an army of, possibly 200,000 people. And there might have been a way, if they had paused for a bit, if they'd been more strategic in their thinking. I don't know, could they have actually, been a much bigger problem for the Romans? Could they have forced the Romans out of Britain? So this acting out of rage, right? The idea that you can terrorize your opponent. That there is something, right, that right, revenge as a motivator. And this is, of course, very large, right? Armies and thousands of men. But how often do we do this in our lives? How often do we act out of a desire to release this anger, to release frustration? I've certainly experienced that, right? This incredible rise, particularly of frustration for me, but also sometimes anger. And then to act impulsively. And it generally doesn't work out. Right? It generally doesn't work out. And these feelings, this anger, this right, this desire for perhaps for revenge, for retribution in some form, may not only clouds judgment and strategy, but can also, I think, absolutely cloud the third eye. I do not think that psychic information comes through clearly when you are all fogged up with these, right, with these desires for retribution and revenge. And I mean, it may be that you feel like that it's not revenge, that you just want somebody held accountable, or that you want somebody to stop doing what they're doing. And I'm going to say, in the current moment, right, there's a lot of that happening on the world stage. And I think that there's a lot of a feeling of powerlessness for people. And that any kind of small feeling that you might have, any mouse-like bit that you have, maybe with somebody that you know, or a coworker, or your boss, or your mother-in-law, or your parents, or whatever, that it's being amplified by the fact that people are feeling this throughout the globe. So if you're having this kind of feeling of Boadicea, the bottom of this deck has the Seven of Aether, the Seven of Swords. Right, so many, right, lots of conflicting thoughts, perhaps, an overload of thoughts. And does that really lead to where you want to go? Right? If what you really want is to see clearly into this new year, where you should go, what you should do, then this energy needs to be dealt with. Right? The energy of that you want, right, and that we have here, we have this beautiful queen of fungi. And she is at peace, at rest. Right? She knows what she has. And then the lovers. Choosing from love rather than from anger or frustration or hatred even, or fear. And then this 10 of fungi. And how this energy of yours will translate into the greater collective. Just as all of those people out there who are filled with frustration and fear and rage are kind of spreading that through the ether to anybody who, is vibrating in a similar space. So you too vibrate out from where you are. And I think to pull this back from the world stage into your own life. What's just happening in your own home or in your office? What is the energy that you bring to the space? When you know, and I think that if you're here, at least intellectually that how you are being affects other people around you. And maybe you're beginning with this queen of fungi and this pentacles to have a more embodied experience of this. Right? Because we also have this ace of pentacles. Right? This new way of being. And I want to say that it really is a new way of being for you, Aries. Aries more as spontaneous rather than impulsive, or intuitive rather than impulsive. Really, courageous and enthusiastic rather than filled with anger. Right? Not having anger as a motivator. And certainly if where you've been has been despair, right? If you've been in a depressed place, or even a jangling kind of anxiety, then anger can be a relief, right? It allows you to take action, right? It feels active, right? It's an active kind of thing. Depression is this, right, really low place. There's nothing you can do. Whereas anger and revenge and even frustration, right, there is a juice to that, an energy. And sometimes that's all you have. At least in the past, that was all you had to kind of lift you up. But that was at a time when you saw things strictly in physical terms. Before you became acquainted with this whole metaphysical, occult, spiritual reality. So we have forgiveness. And I want to say that you do want to forgive yourself for any time when you have, you know, blown up around something or at someone, when you've, you know, when you've said things or done things that you regret. But you also, you know, you kind of want to forgive others. And if forgiveness is a difficult word or a difficult concept, there you could just write releasing resentment. But I kind of want to say that that if you release resentment and you let stuff go and you forgive yourself, that you might actually find yourself forgiving those others too. Like really forgiving. Below that we have the deer, gentleness, diplomacy. And we are sitting here today at the Cancer full moon. If you're here on the east coast of North America, and I guess South America too, actually, the moon will be full at around 7:30 this evening, and you'll probably be able to see her at her moment of fullness. She will be far enough above the horizon. She is the Cancer full moon, the highest moon, I think, of the year at this, closest to the winter solstice. The sun being at its highest at the summer solstice and the moon at the winter solstice here in the northern hemisphere. This Cancer moon, you know, and Cancer can have a lot of trouble with this actually too. And I think maybe the cardinal signs in general. Right? Cancer keeps that outer crab shell hard to protect the inner soft bits, right? The inner soft bits like the oyster has. And so it can sometimes be difficult to think about forgiveness. But I think it's a process, and that you can start with, right, releasing resentment. Being gentle, just moving gently. At the bottom here we have the serpent. Knowledge, healing, right, giving up the old skin. And then trust. This trust in spiritual principles, if we want to say that, right? The trust that if you believe, if you allow your soul's perspective to take the lead, right? Because your soul doesn't harbor hatred or desire for revenge. These are things we experience in our human existence. And I want to say that there's nothing wrong with that, right? We came to understand all of these different ways of being. So there's nothing wrong with anything with how you've been living. It's just that now it is time to do things differently. To trust in this goodness that exists. To trust in lightness and in your own ability to see, right, if you keep yourself in balance, to keep your third eye clear. Right, and so we have letting go and this, right, like this washing idea. And I almost don't want to use the word cleansed, because we're not actually talking about dirt, right, like something icky. Right, we're just being rinsed of what has clung to us that we no longer wish to carry around. But I don't want to put the judgment of dirt, right, of something dirty on this. Right, I don't want to, right, this isn't about purity or things like that. Right, this is just about rinsing yourself off. You know, and a shower feels so good. You know, if you have, I find, you know, if I have a headache, I've sometimes suffered from headaches, I had to go and have a hot shower. And it kind of washes that away. It rinses away some of the tension and pain. And this is similar. And then the horse, the freedom to move forward unfettered. Accepting help from another, delegating authority. And in this case, delegating to spirit. Allowing spirit to help you. Allowing the information that you need to arrive. And this 10 of fire, which feels like coming into, to me, today, like coming into a gathering. A gathering of spirit, and also maybe of your soul family. Right? I don't think of souls as discrete things. Right? Like as a human being, I am discrete from other human beings. And I just walk around as myself, really, most of the time. And although I can experience others, I am, right, I'm just myself. But I don't think of souls that way. I think of souls as streams that mix and mingle. And that even, right, even within a life, that there may be sort of a core energy that remains with you, but that there can be other streams that come in and out in the mixing of this, so that your soul is not entirely static through your whole life. And that there's a whole group of you that, right, there's little tiny rivulets, and then they flow into a bigger stream, and that flows into a river, and so on. So that there are a bunch of people out there, and maybe also animals and trees and other beings that are kind of part of your river as you split off into streams and little rills in your individual lives. And that you're coming here together in this card with those, and here with this wheel of life. Really coming together with all things in a clearer way. And at the bottom, we have the Seven of Air, the Seven of Swords again, except in this deck, not too many thoughts, but conversation with the all that is. In whatever way that you do it, right? This is kind of a, right? This is a charm or a ritual that has been created. Possibly for divination, possibly as a gift, right? This is part of the conversation. Right? That you are gaining wisdom. That you are gaining some distance now. And it is true that that can be, that can feel a little lonely, perhaps. Creating distance between yourself and some other people around you, seeing things differently. Right? Saying that you understand totally why Boadicea did what she did. But maybe different action might have been a better choice. That perhaps there might have been a better way to go to achieve what she really wanted, which was, right, to get the Romans out and off of her island. And it can, right, it can be a little bit of a lonely place when you take that position. Of seeing things differently. But I think that you will feel much more at peace with yourself. And then with these two messengers, the pages in this deck, right? The page of air repeating, and then the page of water, that you will be much more open to all of the messages that come, both through your mind and through your heart. That you will have clarity of thinking and of feeling. Right? Really learning how to feel if you should take a particular action. And this could be very subtle, Aries, or not, perhaps. But that the releasing of, right, of this anger, this, and it might not even be anger, perhaps, maybe, but just, God damn it, they need to do something. Right? It can be, right? Mars is your guide, Aries. The desire to just do something. Anything. Kind of to release, even if it's not anger, maybe it's just tension. Right? Like a sense of, right? Like you're almost trembling with keeping still. You just want to do something, anything. And if you can, right, if you can pull back from that. Actually, the card that was underneath this is the Four of Combustion. Four of Fire, Four of Wands, right? She is, like this Queen of Fungi, relaxed. And actually, the Queen of Fire, the Queen of Combustion in this deck, is a very relaxed person. She is not going to act precipitously or impulsively just to relieve the tension. She's going to find other ways. And then we have the Priestess. The ultimate connection. And we actually here, with these two, have both the Hierophant and the High Priestess. The two cards that really converse with Source, with the all it is, that can bring that outer information down to earth. So we've already kind of, this whole reading is sort of advice. That the advice bit here is a confirmation. We have death underneath at the here. Transformation. And I feel, Aries, like you and everybody else, has been in this transformative process. But there's something for you, and maybe for others at this full moon, at this moment, when something may really click into place like it has never done before. Right? You've had revelations, you've had insights, you've had realizations. But there's something that will be embodied in you as a result. And here with this Three of Cups friendship, I think this is both an internal process of your various ideas, beliefs, parts, inner personalities coming together, an integration, but then also forming a greater friendship with other people. And not necessarily even people that you know, but just feeling that you're a friend to humanity. You know, you see humans' shortcomings and ways that we all screw up, and ways that we get in our own way, and ways that we hurt one another, and all, right? You see all of these things. But, right, almost here too, with this disappointment card below that you're just, right, you're no longer interested in judgments or labels or, in drinking the same old dregs. Right? There's 3 new cups. That you're going to be a friend to human beings, even if they aren't friends to themselves. That you're just going to be a friend, right? It's not like a heavy kind of, you're not here to save humanity. You're just here to be a friend to people. In any way that you can. And that the first and most primary way, with this despair on the bottom, is to get out of your own despair. Right? To leave the corpse. Actually, I just saw the Chariot, Cancer's card showing up, right? Moving away. And then, and then the 9 of Cups of emotional fulfillment. Oh, and then the 2 of Cups, union. I should probably stop. Oh no, the 10 of Cups. And actually, beyond that is the 7 of Swords showing up for a 3rd time. So all of this goodness, right? The Chariot, the 9 of Cups, the 2 of Cups, the 10 of Cups is kind of between this despair and this mental perseveration, right? Can you release holding on to this sword, right? If it's a grudge, if it's an idea that you have to behave in a certain way, that you have to take sides, perhaps. Whatever that sword is, if you can just let it go. Right? Authority, your own authority over your own mind. And then we have another 3 cards here together that are difficult. We have the Devil. We have the 8 of Swords of isolation and mental imprisonment. And then the 3 of Swords, sorrow. So all of this stuff, right, that's blocking the ability, because at the end of the line we have the High Priestess again. Right? Personal authority over your own mind and what happens in there. Knowing what is yours and what belongs to other people. Clarity. And then the ability to connect through your third eye, through the cosmic channels. Right? That's what makes it possible. Is releasing this. And I think that while you may have wanted to do it before, that this moment in time is particularly open. It could be that this is, right, this moon is being helped by Mercury moving backwards through Sagittarius, trine Aries. It could be some personal transit that you're having, wherever Cancer may be in your own chart, or where Capricorn is in your own chart. Right? Whatever it is for you, Aries, the energy at the moment is really good, really helpful to assist you, because you've already been doing this process, Aries. And now you're just getting a final assistance from the energies to really let stuff go. And to move into this new year, if you're watching this when I post it, into this newness with a whole new outlook, right? Like really new, right? Finding that the whole thing, not just the pearl, but the oyster, the shell, the oyster itself, the pearl, that everything has value. All right, Aries. This feels very sort of deep. It is deep. I hope that you find this freedom in this full moon and as we move into this next year. I wish you all the very, very best, Aries, and I'll see you next time. So long.